Donald Trump says he's ordered the U.S. Defense Department to prepare for potential military action in Nigeria.
U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to send military forces into Nigeria unless the government stops what he called the killings of Christians by terrorists. Trump posted the message on Truth Social saying,
"If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killings of Christians, the USA may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities." Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social. In a previous post, he had designated Nigeria a country of concern and had written, "I'm hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern, but that is the least of it. When Christians or any such group is slaughtered like is happening in Nigeria, something must be done." These were the words of United States President Donald J. Trump. Of course, the Nigerian government has responded with a statement of its own. So, what is really going on here? I'm here to explain it to you. Nigeria is often called the giant of Africa, and not without reason. That's one of the most capable armies on the continent. According to the Global Firepower Index, Nigeria ranks third in Africa, behind only Egypt and South Africa. With over 223 million people, 223,000 active and reserve personnel, and a defense budget of nearly $3 billion US, the Nigerian armed forces are supposed to be the anchor of stability in West Africa. But here's the painful irony. Despite this military strength, terrorism has overrun the giant of Africa. And this is not just a Nigerian problem. Across the entire Sahel region, a vast stretch of land from Mauritania to Sudan, an arc of instability has emerged. In Mali, military coups were triggered by jihadist violence that the government could no longer control. In Burkina Faso, terrorist attacks have killed more than 20,000 people since 2015 and displaced over 2 million citizens. In Niger and Benin Republic, border communities are now at the mercy of armed groups moving freely through porous frontiers. The whole region is under siege, and right at the center of this storm stands Nigeria. The country's northeast has become synonymous with one name, Boko Haram, a name that once sent shockwaves across the world. Founded in 2002 by Muhammad Yusuf, Boko Haram began as a fringe Islamic movement in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. It preached against Western education, hence the name Boko Haram, which roughly translates to Western education is forbidden. But by 2009, the group had transformed from a religious sect into one of the world's deathless terrorist organizations. After the killing of Yusuf by Nigerian security forces that year, Boko Haram radicalized completely under its new leader, Abubakar Shekau. What followed was a reign of terror that tore through northern Nigeria like wildfire. Suicide bombings, mass abductions, and entire towns falling under jihadist control. The world truly woke up to Boko Haram's brutality in April 2014, when the group kidnapped 276 schoolgirls from the town of Chibok in Borno State. The story dominated international headlines. The Bring Back Our Girls hashtag campaign spread across the globe. Even Michelle Obama, the First Lady of the United States at the time, held the placard calling for their return. But behind the social media outrage was a painful truth. Nigeria lost control of its own territory. At the height of Boko Haram's expansion, the group controlled parts of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State. More than 20 local government areas in total. Villages were burned, farmlands abandoned, and millions displaced. By 2015, the humanitarian crisis had become one of the worst in Africa, with over 2.5 million people fleeing their homes. When former General Muhammadu Buhari was elected president in 2015, he came to power with one clear promise: to crush Boko Haram once and for all. And to be fair, in his first few years, the military achieved significant gains. Boko Haram's major strongholds, places in Goza and Bama, were recaptured. Its fighters were pushed into the Sambisa forest and the fringes of Lake Chad. International allies such as Chad, Niger, and Cameroon joined forces with Nigeria in a multinational coalition. By 2017, the government announced that Boko Haram had been technically defeated. But there's a crucial but here. The group was never truly destroyed. It splintered, not disappeared. From Boko Haram emerged a deadlier faction known as ISWAP, the Islamic State West Africa Province, an affiliate of ISIS. ISWAP was more organized, better funded, and far more strategic. It taxed local farmers, provided basic services in occupied areas, and portrayed itself as a government alternative. While Nigeria claimed victory on paper, the reality on ground told a different story. In recent months, Boko Haram and ISWAP have resurfaced again, carrying out ambushes in Borno and Yobe, attacking military bases and kidnapping civilians. On June 18, 2024, for example, ISWAP launched a surprise assault on the Nigerian army convoy near Maiduguri, killing at least 30 soldiers. In August 2024, dozens of villagers were massacred in Goza, the same area once declared liberated. 15 years after Chibok, the nightmare continues. While some of the kidnapped girls have been rescued, more than 90 remain missing. Their fate is totally unknown. If Boko Haram were the only threat Nigeria faced, it might have been easier to define, isolate, and defeat. But in the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari's rule, a new monster was born. One far more chaotic, decentralized, and devastating. They are called bandits. Unlike Boko Haram, these groups don't claim any ideology. They don't plant bombs in the name of God or publish manifestos about the caliphate. They are driven by greed, power, and survival. And yet their effect has been even deadlier. Operating largely in the northwestern Nigeria, across Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Sokoto, and Niger State, these bandits began as a small gangs of rustlers. But over time, they evolved into well-armed militias with assault rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, and motorbikes that move in hundreds. By 2021, according to SBM intelligence, armed bandits were responsible for 47% of all deaths caused by non-state actors in Nigeria. In the same year, more than 10,000 people were killed and nearly 300,000 civilians displaced from their villages. In Zamfara, villages like Anka and Shinkafi became ghost towns. In Kaduna, mass abductions became a routine headline, from the Bethel Baptist High School kidnapping to the attacks on the Kaduna-Abuja train in 2022, when 970 passengers were trapped and over 60 abducted in a single night. By 2023, kidnapping had grown into an industry worth more than $700 million a year, according to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. And here's the part that is often misunderstood. Most of the victims are Muslims. Entire Muslim farming communities in Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina have been wiped out by people who claim to fight for them. This has shattered a dangerous myth that terrorism in Nigeria is always a Christian versus Muslim war. It is not. It is deeper, more complex, and far more tragic. But to understand just how complex, we must move a little south, to a region some Nigerians call the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt is where Nigeria's north and south collide, geographically, culturally, and religiously. It is a mosaic of dozens of ethnic minorities, the Birom, Tarok, Dengas, Tiv, Afizere, Atiab, and many others. Most of them are Christians or followers of traditional religions, surrounded by Hausa Fulani, Muslim majority. For this group, violence is not new. Their memories go back to the Fulani Jihad of Usman Dan Fodio in the early 19th century, when the Sokoto Caliphate expanded southward, conquering vast parts of today's northern Nigeria. That history of conquest and displacement still shapes how they see present-day conflict. But today's clashes are driven by modern religion. They are also about resources, land grabbing, grazing routes, and water. Across the Sahel, climate change has devastated the environment. The Sahara Desert expands southward by nearly 6 kilometers every year, pushing pastoralist herders into farmlands that used to belong to settled communities. According to the United Nations, Lake Chad, once Africa's fourth largest water body, has shrunk by 90% since the 1960s. As the land dries up, competition turns violent. What begins as a farmer-herder clash dispute becomes an ethnic war. And once revenge enters the cycle, and religion becomes the language of the fight. The attacks are mostly done by Muslim Fulani herdsmen against mostly Christian farming communities. While the attacks are not new, they've become highly organized and led up. Armed Fulani militias have been blamed for raiding farming villages, killing residents, and burning homes in what locals sometimes describe as an ethnic or religious cleansing of Christian communities. The Fulani attackers in turn argue that they are retaliating against vigilante killings of their own people or the theft of their cattle. What were once sporadic pastoral disputes have transformed into protracted wars over land with religious undertones. By 2018, analysts warned that these farmer-herder clashes have become even deadlier than Boko Haram insurgency. That year, the violence in Nigeria's Middle Belt killed about 6 times more people than Boko Haram did. The International Crisis Group called it Nigeria's gravest security challenge, noting that it threatened to destabilize the entire country if left unchecked. In Benue State, often called Nigeria's food basket, more than 5,000 people have been killed since 2014 in clashes between herders and farmers. In Plateau State, the epicenter of what used to be known as home of peace and tourism, entire villages in Burkinadi, Rio, Mombasa have been attacked repeatedly. For years, these communities have cried out to both the state and federal government for help, and their response? Almost silence. Mass graves, abandoned farmlands, widowed mothers, and yet no meaningful intervention. No justice, no reconstruction, and no help. In fact, on the very day that US President Donald Trump posted his viral message condemning the killings of Christians in Nigeria, there was a fresh massacre in Barkin-Ladi, Plateau State, where 12 people overnight were killed, including children. For the victims, the global attention was long overdue. For the government, it was an embarrassment. Because by that point, Nigerians had marched, protested, and mourned so many times that their cries had become background noise. Their petitions to international organizations, churches, and Western government had one recurring plea. If our government won't protect us, maybe America will. And that is where Donald Trump entered the story. In 2019, during his first tenure, Donald Trump's administration officially designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The most serious classification in the US State Department Global Religious Freedom Report. It was a diplomatic bombshell. No African democracy has ever been placed in that category before. The move was based on widespread report of mass killings in Nigeria's north and middle belt, most of them linked to Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Fulani herdsmen militias. To Trump and his evangelical base, this was evidence that Christians in Nigeria were being systematically targeted. But when President Joe Biden came into office in 2021, his administration quietly removed Nigeria from the list, arguing that while religious violence persisted, there was insufficient evidence of state complicity or inaction. In simple terms, Washington no longer believed that Nigeria's government was deliberately persecuting Christians. And then came November 2025. Trump launched into a fiery post that shocked both Nigerians and the international community. He declared that he would consider military intervention in Nigeria to stop what he called genocide of Christians. In his words, the world cannot watch this massacre any longer. And just like that, Nigeria was back on his radar. Now let's ask a hard question. Is he justified in saying that there are killings going on in Nigeria? Yes, the data confirms it. According to the Global Terrorism Index, Nigeria has been one of the top 10 most terror-affected countries in the world for over a decade. In 2023 alone, the country recorded more than 4,000 deaths from terrorists and communal violence, from Boko Haram in Borno to bandits in Zamfara to header farmers clashes in Benue and other states within the Middle Belt. But is Trump justified in saying there's a genocide against Christians? The answer is complicated. Yes, there have been systematic attacks on Christian communities, especially in Plateau, Benue, Taraba, and southern Kaduna. Entire villages with Christian majorities have been burned down, churches have been attacked, pastors have been killed. In some regions, Christians live in daily fear. But that is not the whole truth. Because in Borno, Yobe, Zamfara, and Sokoto, it is Muslims who have been massacred by other Muslims. According to a 2022 Council on Foreign Relations report, over 80% of Boko Haram's victims have been Muslim. In northern Nigeria, entire Muslim communities have been wiped out by the same terrorists who claim to defend Islam. The truth is, terrorism has no religion. It doesn't discriminate between church and mosques, between farmer and herder, destroys everyone in its path. So while Trump is right about the killings, he's wrong about the narrative. This is not a war of Christians versus Muslims. It is a war of citizens abandoned by a failing state. And then comes the final question. Is he justified in saying he will send in US military to Nigeria? Absolutely not. Nigeria is a sovereign country, one of Africa's largest economies and its most populous democracy. Any foreign military intervention would violate its sovereignty and destabilize an entire region already plagued by instability. More importantly, America's record in such interventions, especially in Africa, has been disastrous. When the US intervened in Libya in 2011, the mission was framed as a humanitarian act to protect civilians. But what followed was a total collapse of the Libyan state, the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi, and the rise of lawless vacuum now controlled by militias and slave traders. 14 years later, Libya is still divided. A cautionary tale of what happens when foreign powers try to fix Africa. The same can be said for Somalia, Sudan, and the Sahel itself, where US and French involvement has neither ended terrorism nor stabilized the region. If anything, it has deepened resentment and strengthened anti-Western sentiment. The Nigerian crisis demands attention, yes, but not from drones or troops. It demands governance, honest governance, and from within only. It demands that leaders build schools instead of mass graves and that they rebuild the broken trust between government and citizens. Trump's outrage may have drawn the world's eyes back on Nigeria, but outrage alone doesn't heal nations. What Nigeria needs is not another foreign savior, but a local reckoning with justice, accountability, and leadership. Because history has already shown. Every time the West claims to bring peace to Africa, leaves behind a louder war. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Tell me, what do you think? Is Trump justified in saying he wants to invade Nigeria? Will this lead to peace in Nigeria? And to know what you think in the comment box. Till I see you again, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone. Bye.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria, and they have other countries, very bad also. You know that. That part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.